Hey, Jenny. How are you? All right. I remember that you had said that there was a new gentleman in your life, but you were afraid to read on him and stuff. Perfectly understandable. Yeah, you said something about you said something about a traffic infraction or something. Did we talk about that? I'm gotta refresh my memory, because I remember you said a comment on the stream, but I'm talking about the reading. Yeah, but you remember you had a nightmare or something, remember? Okay, let me make sure I'm reading this. I'm gonna make sure. Okay, hang on. I would like to know the future of Ryan. I met him after he said I don't think I was right, and it's been going super good. Yes, he warned me constantly enough where he was past me. Okay. So are you okay? Are you both okay? That's my first question. Making sure you guys are okay. I'm sorry you went through that, sweetheart. Very important to remember, before I forget, I need you to remember the magic number. This is going to be helpful. The day of your reading, where the announcement of that person came, Ryan, when he was announced, what reading was that? Like, how long ago? I'm so glad. So I'm establishing a time pattern with you. Everyone's different. But it seems to be the same for the clients. So for example, I have clients that, sometimes they have to wait 5 months for something to play out. Sometimes it's 3 weeks, sometimes it's 3 days. It depends on the person. So confusing enough when I look into the future, FYI. Obviously I'm trying to address first and foremost what the client wants. But a lot of times the prediction is really far ahead, which is expected when you have, strong ability, but it's frustrating for the client because it's like people tend to forget, that doesn't enter long-term memory. It takes a process to go from short-term to long-term memory. So a lot of times, they forget, so it's better to write it down or have some kind of like reading journal or something. But yeah, warnings and things are different. They can play out faster, but it usually gives people time. So in this case, we're talking about love announcement, right? So September, okay. You and I met in September, you're saying? You and I? September? No, you and the person. No, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I'm trying to. You and Ryan met in September. Yeah, I don't remember how long I've been reading for you. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're a little bit familiar, but you're still new, right? So let's see. September 18th was the read. Okay. 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 Okay, that makes okay, that's good because that's an announcement of a new person. Okay. and then the warning thing. So roughly like 8 days, and then the other one is the because when I told you about the warning, you said that it had been a short time that you had that weird feeling too. So there's like, you were having a weird feeling or some kind of nightmare or something, and then, hey, how are you? Hi guys. Okay, so there was 8 days for the love thing, and then how many days is that? Wow, almost a month for the warning. Okay, that's good. So it gave time. Right. So yeah. So you want to focus on that time frame for you? I'm confused. So are you saying that you didn't understand the warning, or are you saying that you didn't understand your dream, or whatever you had? I don't remember if you had like some people get like a gut feeling, some people see like certain omens, and then some people like have a dream mixed with a nightmare, or, I don't remember. So the reason that I got into that questions session with you was because whatever we're going to read now. Oh, okay. I see. So you had a okay. With your kind of like confused by your weird feeling. That'll get better. That'll get better with time. Not to worry about that. But what time of day did it happen? The accident? Sometimes that's really significant too, So anyway, the reason that I got into that is because of the reading we're going to do now. You have a little bit more of a kind of like a numerical footing. Okay, so the sun was out. You have a little bit more of a footing on the timing, so you get an idea, whatever comes up. That way you're able to calculate more or less the time frame. Like I said, generally, warnings and announcements and things coming up, usually the client usually has a significant amount of time. I say that because sometimes in reads people say, okay, this is going to happen. It happens like a couple hours later. So you want more time. You want more time to plan and think about it and, check airbags and, AAA and, that kind of thing, but it gives you an idea. All right. So we're going to jump in. So everything's doing good. With that, I'm going to do an energy check first, even though things are good, which is wonderful, but I'm still going to do an energy check on both of you. Just to start off, I always do that kind of like an icebreaker. Oh goodness, here we go. But it's a good thing. This is a good thing that this is happening, because that you're getting the reading, because it's better to know to prevent it. Okay. So the reading begins. Like I said, this is just an energy check, just to give me an idea before I go in with chipping away with detail. So the reading does begin with a warning of a breakup. Don't freak out. You can prevent it. Let's find out what's going on. Okay. Unless you have currently had an argument, but you're saying you have not. So, you know, we want to prevent one. Okay. Okay. So the argument begins with something with work. Good, good, good. I'm glad there's none. Yeah, I'm glad there's none, because you said going into the read that, you know, in the reading, that everything is awesome, and that's good. But there is a warning. It does, you know, it does open up with a warning about a breakup. So, and it's about work. It's not about money. It's about work. So, what are the things that can cause an argument about work? Okay. When one person in the relationship schedules too much work and makes the other person feel left out, or when one person seems secretive, or they don't want to share certain details and the other person wants to know more things. When maybe there's something that you both want to do together and then you decide to reschedule. So there's a lot of other combinations. So you want to open your mind and think, when there's a situation where you see it goes from smooth to tense, you want to not feed it. You want to say, hey, it's not worth being upset. You want to cut it right there. Hey, you know, it's not worth being upset. This isn't worth it. Let's talk about it later. You know, it's better to talk about it later. I have a feeling it could be really misunderstood right now, and it's better. So you want to be very proactive in the way that you depress and appease the subject, okay, to avoid it. So another thing could be that you maybe have an issue with something at his work, or maybe you have questions and something bothers you about his work or something like that. And then you can see that clashing, that tension starting, and that's when you plug out, go for a walk, make an iced tea, whatever, and realize, okay, let me interrupt the flow of this because it's not worth where it's headed, okay? That's right off the bat. Let me check on some other things here. Now, I like the vibe. Another thing too can be that he gets jealous from someone that likes you at your job. That's possible too, or vice versa. You can get very jealous about someone that you believe likes him at his work. This is a warning. Yeah, this is a warning. So it could be that has another wave of being brought up again. So what you're identifying is very clear. Yes, it would fit. But this is letting you know that this can open up again. So when it does, this time it can be, you know, and yeah, if what you're saying would be in the read, then it wouldn't be a warning. Yeah, it would just come in as that's what happened. So it would kind of just be like, oh, this happened, but it didn't. It came in like, you know, prevent it. All right, let's go ahead and, so yeah, jealousy is a factor there. That's another thing. So work, jealousy, misunderstanding, okay? Those are key words there. All right, let's go ahead and start. You're the engineer, right? Or no? Or is that somebody else? Okay. I'll tell you why I asked. Because the reading opens up with a really shady character in the past. And I remember that there was an idiot that, you know, you were thinking, let it grow, and it was like, no, wrong direction. And then I remembered, wait a minute, that seems like the energy I read for the engineer. And what is she, that Jenny, or is that another Jenny? And then that's why I was like, okay. So now I know that the cat picture with the little red hat, well, if you change your picture, it's fine. But now I'm putting 3 together, 3 dots. Now I know that you're the engineer, which is the Pisces moon. I thought the Pisces moon was different than the engineer. Okay. That happens when you have so many clients and then they have similar names, and yeah, but I get there. Okay, so it starts with that freaking idiot. Okay. Let me ask you something. Is Ryan a Pisces? I know you're a Pisces moon, but is he a Pisces? He's a Pisces rising, right? Him. Okay, so that's him then. Okay, so his rising, yeah. Okay, got it. It's not strange that I identify the rising sign of the person, since I'm an astrologer reading tarot. I'm a tarotist too, but in my brain, the way I work, there's a merger sometimes, you know, it happens. So it's that's probably why. I mean, that's why. Okay, let's see. no, 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 no. Oh, okay. I was like, let me ask you something. Is the person that you have or had a brief kind of jealousy issue or whatever, the snarky remark, was it his female boss or someone that fits the female manager category? I don't know what you said. I don't know what you said to him. Okay, so let's backtrack a minute. 1 second. All right, so here we go. So in the dice reading, I picked up that there was the word work and the word jealousy were a clue as to an argument that could happen in the future. Okay, and then you said that you thought that maybe the warning in the read was already present and expired because you made a little snarky comment to him about something like that, joking. And then I explained that, yes, it's relevant, but no, this is the warning of the future. Okay, we went on to the tarot part, and I'm picking up, I asked you, is there someone at his job that maybe they had something romantic or there's something there that maybe, you know, and then you said, you only said that, you know, kind of like joking or like just to be silly, sneak, you know. And then I said, I didn't know what you said. And then that's when you said, you did say something, but there's another, you know, girl, he said no. So here's the thing. Because you're a Pisces moon, even though, you know, you're not really used to a lot of, you know, any kind of training or any kind of intuitive stuff, right? You just do natural stuff and you know you have something, but you just can't put your finger on it. So one of the things is throughout your life, I can tell that you'll say something and then maybe people think it comes true or something like that. So the thing is, you weren't just joking. You, in your brain, you logically, cognitively, yes, you were joking, but you were picking up on something. So there is someone that at his job, there's a little something, I'm not sure if it's, and the reason I'm not sure is because it's just surfacing right now. Okay. I'm sorry, I have hiccups. I hate hiccups so badly. Sorry, inappropriate moment for hiccups. So it's not something escalated and big, but it's something that, it's, it's important to like take note. No big deal, nothing dramatic, but yeah, I mean, if you later on be a little bit more, the closer you get, the more you know about each other, the more you know about details about work and each other's lives and all those kinds of things, you start filling in little gaps and little things. Yeah, there's something that might make you uncomfortable and you might say, okay, no, so there is something. Whether she desires him or he desires her, or maybe they had something and then they didn't. I'm not sure. I might be able to do a little quick check on it, but just to know. So your joke wasn't too jokey, Do I think it's an issue? Only for a small thing. This reading, just to clarify, is you kind of want to know what's coming with the relationship and where it's going, because it's really good and you're very happy right now, which is a good thing, right? So I'm doing a quick read on it, okay? So let's start off and cover a couple of things. Before I'm done, I gotta do 2 more things here. All right, so is he present with the reading with you right now? Is he there next to you listening to the read? Or maybe you're going to show him the reading or something? Yeah, I know. Spirit's telling me. I always check. Yeah, so that's not a good thing. That does violate my policy, but that's okay. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. The reason is because it's there's a lot of reasons why. I can send you an email, and we can, or a text, and I can explain more. Okay, I don't want to interrupt the reading. So it can cause drama and it can cause a lot of different things because I'm supposed to be a woman's secret weapon. I kind of tell you stuff, but if the guy is gonna hear, I know you saying he can't hear, and I get that, I understand. Noted, but I'm really gonna hold back on a lot of things because I don't want drama in my business, just like you don't like drama where you work. And it always ends up with drama. So I'm not going to be as forthcoming with the client because there's a lot of stuff. So I am showing that there's magical work with another magical practitioner. You do want to be mindful that when you do any kind of magical work with a practitioner, like basically deep love readings or anything magical on a person. So like some people do things for love protection, or some people do things in a general sense, not thinking it can, intermingle. So whatever it was, we don't have to talk about it. That's your thing. But it infiltrates the reading in one way only. Magic is for results. Readings are for information and clarity. So when you want clarity and information, but you are heavily involved in reading or magical workings on the love with another person, then the clarity that you want is kind of like industrial espionage, almost like, you see? So you kind of like, you want to go to one person and say, be honest, tell me the truth. And you're manipulating the future, and then, but you want to know the truth. But there's, yeah. Okay, no, I understand. But it's showing that there is a magical person or a psychic or a practitioner or an astrologer that deals with this kind of thing, heavily involved in your love reads for this person. So sometimes a person will pay someone for a reading and then they go on to the next reader, and that's perfectly normal. That's the world we live in. We don't all grocery shop at the same store. But the problem is if you go to someone that can, you know, kind of like do something magical to trap you to make you come back. Unfortunately, that's that corrupt world. Kind of like companies put filler in cheese and they're selling you cheese, but there's sawdust in it. And you know, the whole 9 yards with every industry. So every industry has like a mechanic and a dentist, you know. So unfortunately it's like that. So you just be aware that there is some kind of tampering with that, okay? So another thing could be if he's involved magically with things and he's done something as well, like maybe reading on you, things like that. Anything that is just not supposed to weave its way into it is showing here. Besides all of that, those are just things I look for, you know, extra to get a well-rounded idea. Let's jump into the most important part, and that is the fact that this starts out with there's still some resentment and negativity from the person in your past, and this also talks about you know, work issues too. So it's a love reading, but it's bringing up old enemies with resentment, okay? So there's both directions. There's enemies with resentment from, you know, the work or social space, and then there's an ex as well that unfortunately they still say negative things. That will pass. Nothing to be concerned. So the current situation is also, this is reminding you that there's a little bit of self-sabotaging to the self. So this means that either he is coming into this beautiful relationship with a victim mentality or you are. So that's a strong word. What I'd rather say is instead is substitute that with when a person can't shake off their fears because of their past experiences and they're bringing that baggage into the future, and then it puts a damper on things and they don't even realize it. So again, it's their mindset, you know, like the negative mindset, expecting the negative. So that's not a good thing. This also talks about how work is there's so much energy with career and work here that it's kind of like gnawing its way into the love reading. So things are separate, but in your case there's something very interwoven. Yeah, that's the way I can explain it. This does look very positive with the, you know, with Ryan's feelings, although I don't like the outcome of this reading. There's things I don't like. Okay, so I would say it's a negative reading, but there are positive things. What I do like is that his feelings are very, very genuine. So his feelings are very truthful, and he's a genuine kind of guy. There is something that you are, like I said, work is weaving its way into this again. There is some opportunity with you or him coming. Maybe it's a pay, you know, raise in pay, or maybe a new job or something. So something lucrative like that, something positive. If you handle accounts, maybe it's a new client, you know, I don't know. But there's an opportunity here, and this is good. This is also talks about, you know, like maybe like buying some, it's also when the couple can join together and, you know, kind of buy like a gift for themselves or treat themselves to something fun or go to a fun place. travel, things like that also is on here. It doesn't replace what I said. What I said is still part of this. This is just an addition to, so that's very good. But one thing that you might not be aware of is, and let me get a little bit more information on this one. Okay. Yeah. So, one of the things that kind of are surprising in this reading is that it kind of pops up surprisingly, but you may get your buttons pressed throughout this relationship, where you might be surprised at yourself for how detached or cold you can be. And that's a defense mechanism. Be aware of that. Fear and not wanting to be hurt and things like that can make a person act that way. So they go through a numb phase, and then they can go through a phase where it's very callous, And this is explaining that you might show him that side in the future. Okay? Can you hear me, just to make sure? I can't tell on this platform. On TikTok, it shows me my volume and everything like that, but on here, I mean, not the volume, but like the connection. Okay, all right. So this is more about saying, hey, buttons are gonna be pressed, and she's gonna witness herself. This is about the self being surprised, like the quadrant, which is you becoming surprised at oneself and saying, wow, I am different, or this is different, like, wow. And this talks about that, so this is an experience. So the fears that you have do show up. I guess they are pretty strong, even though sometimes they're buried deep. But this is just afraid to just be alone and not find anybody. Like going from very optimistic to yeah, that's fine, there's a lot of fish in the sea, and then going from there's nobody, and it's just going to stay like that. So this fear is there. Also being shut out is there. So that doesn't really mean much except just giving credit to the feeling, the fear. So there are some things you can do. There's a lot of, this is a time right now where you can have a lot of career growth or just success, not necessarily referring to the glass ceiling itself, but just success as a whole. Keep busy. This is very healthy for you because you don't want to put, not that you're the type to do that, but you don't want to put your career on the back burner for a relationship, because it's not there. I do see something bad with it. Okay. You can also do some cleanses, spiritual cleanses. I offer that, but whoever you work with or whatever, I don't know what you do. That does help some things. One of the things you have to be aware of is who you go to. So I read for thousands of people all over the world, and a lot of them go to a lot of places, and a lot of them, so I don't want you to think like, oh, she's saying this because she can only go. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that make sure you're aware of who you go to for spiritual practices and spiritual things, because, or even what you might try to do, because this does talk about things becoming crossed and having a more negative impact than positive. Maybe it's a bombardment of information from different corners, and a bunch of things as well. For example, I was reading for a young lady not that long ago, and her love interest, he was being misled because he was into readings. He would do readings, and was believing his own inaccurate things and causing a nightmare for them. So every time he'd draw the cards, he'd believe one new dilemma, and then he'd accuse her for it. And I said, wow, that's really not okay. And she would roll her eyes, yeah, tell me about it. So that's not really healthy. And in this case, it's not really like that, but you got to understand, that you can't have too many chefs in the kitchen when you're trying to. You'll understand what this means in the future. You don't worry about it now if it sounds strange. Let's talk about the relationship outcome right now. So, because this is the short read, there's not extra details, but you don't need them. Some people do, some people don't. I think it's not needed. I think the important part is the big clincher. I see that it might not have a long last. Now, hopefully it does. And hopefully all the little hurdles that are coming are small. But I see that there's a lot of souring. What could that be? The following. I see that he could be really sensitive and not take well to some sides of you. You've been through a lot. You have a very sweet personality and very loving, but you can also be very, very hard and rigid for your own reasons. Whatever it is, it's when a person, instead of looking at their partner and saying, I really understand them, I get it. And this person kind of gets offended, like saying, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. Like, why are you like that? That frustration can build. So right now it's really light and fluffy. When you get deeper, it's when he says, I can't take this. There's a frustration there. And then there's a lot of things about him that will bug you and bother you. And this is the problem. This is what I see, that if you learn to talk to him the way that he will take it to a good place, and you can learn to communicate what bothers you in a way that is digestible for him, I think that then this will be avoided, right? Because I do see things coming up like that. But the feelings for him are very genuine. I also see, very importantly too, that you misunderstand the feelings that he has for you later. So you start to doubt some of the things you start to doubt some of the things that he feels or says. That's not healthy. That's not good. So I see that you have a lot of healing that needs to be done within you, but yet this wonderful thing started, and then he's got his fears. So it's almost like two really good people for each other, with timing being a thing. Getting together and meeting for the first time and then having an accident is also a omen, like saying it's like the timing is kind of challenged by time itself, kind of thing. So I would say, take it's going from the beginning really well, smooth, to getting deeper, setting roots. And I would say through this transition, avoid an emotional accident. Okay? That's what the reading says. So this can be avoided if properly addressed, where you mirror his feelings and you learn to make sure that you show him what yours are. So naturally, two people are going to act the way they are naturally, just the way they're wired. And if you early on say, study how he took something, then you're going to prevent certain things, because he gets easily sensitive and offended and then won't say anything. and then he won't really express everything that he thought. And this becomes awkward. So this is the reading. So it's not that it's a bad reading, but because it comes in with conditional warnings, that's why I say it's bad, because I usually say good readings are when it's very smooth and it doesn't really require the client any really hard work. This does have a lot of hard work. This also talks about the fact that the relationship ups and downs emotionally with misunderstandings can also put a damper on work opportunities. And it also talks about work opportunities passing you by without focus on them. So it's very difficult how this is, related like this. And then again, the warning of explaining the fact that you can be caught off guard, and there would be parts of you and things that come out from within you that maybe you didn't mean to. So this is like a future reference. And again, to be aware of spiritual tampering in any way. Oh, let's find this out. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then believing this. So chaos in some kind of way. It can be believing advice. That's also spiritual. It can be sharing your relationship stuff with a friend and then they getting feedback. And then the feedback ends up having its own energy weight. It can be through readings. It can be through magical works. It can be through candles. It can be through, whatever it is. It's just there. It should only be the energy of yourself and him. That's it. Because it talks about quirkiness with that. Not knowing what to understand. And so, yeah, I would say misunderstandings, bumpy ride. But I think if you start having an early faith, which I see that you're going to have a challenge with, if you start having really deep faith in his feelings for you, you're not going to go through all these things, but I see that you will have the challenge. So all I can tell you is believe in what he feels, because it really is genuine. So that's the reading. All right, sweetheart. Thank you so much. Yeah, not just that, but just also like the way you speak and the way you address. I'm not saying change yourself for him, but in this case, because, see, if he were my client first, because I don't read for couples, that's one rule that I don't bend. Once a person breaks that barrier of trust and they do that, I don't read for them. I just don't. But for example, if he would have been my client and I didn't know you, I would then say to him, the inverted advice, I would say, this is where it's headed, and I need you to do this and this and this emotionally and with words, so that, you can't, she doesn't mean it like that, or just know right away that you're going to have to like break it down and communicate, and don't hold it in and try to figure her out, because men do that too in general, all the signs. But since it's you, it sounds like I'm saying, oh, correct you, fix you. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying, because you're the one that I'm reading for, then that I have no other way but to say, hey, watch how he learns you, because that's where it can get, So that's what that is. And that's it. And sometimes you in particular, I've noticed something about you. When you have a fear of something and you try to run away from it, it becomes true and it becomes bigger. I've noticed that. It started when I started looking into your job situation, although I met you, I think, at the end when you were leaving the job or something like that. A lot of the fears and a lot of the stressors that you had became amplified. And then, so it's almost like if you are afraid of something, deal with it in a different way so that you're not afraid, and break it down. And I don't know how to explain it, I guess. Yeah, it's a pattern of thinking. So I think that would be really helpful, because then you'll, instead of locking up and closing yourself off in certain ways, you'll learn to kind of like, express that in a different way, and then you don't feel that anymore. So I'm seeing that there's a pattern within you, driven by fear or avoiding what you don't want to see or what you don't want to look at, when I think you should, and then, it's a different experience. But thank you so much, sweetheart. Don't feel negative because the reading was, if it has to be like negative, positive, I would say it was more negative. Don't feel bad, because actually negative readings give you something to do, right? So if everything is great and wonderful, okay, it's smooth and great. You just got to live your life. When something's negative, that means there's growth from it, or there's planning, or maybe something that you're going to do that where you evolve. So it's just ones that give you homework, So don't look at it that way. Yeah, exactly. And bottom line, his feelings are genuine, and he really, really feels very beautiful love with you. So believe in that, because there's going to be a lot of things where it like brings doubt and issues and clouding it. All right. Now, what can that be besides your own method of thinking and maybe some kind of flaws that, because I don't know, because to evaluate that kind of thing, you kind of do love charts, and you look at his love karma, and you look at yours, and you have a deep understanding of, with all that stuff, which is very important, but not required. It's some of the work that I do, but not required whatsoever. But without that deep examination, the cross-examination, all those things, there's also other realms and layers in life that can also cause that. Spiritual stuff, negative people, gossip, envious friends, people that become third wheels. People think only a third party is a third wheel. No, a nosy friend, a nosy brother, blah, blah, blah. They can also be in the way. Corrupted talk about somebody, that becomes a third wheel in a relationship. Fears, misunderstandings, maybe there's also negative spiritual activity. So sometimes people deal with situations where people pass away, like people that work in hospitals and stuff like that, God forbid. Those are people that have to have amulets and stuff like that, because they're constantly near environments that have heavy spiritual toxicity. So there's a lot of things. Yeah. It depends. We'd have to look into like why you need one. Like what kind? Is it because by cleansing it's going to help something big happen with opportunity with money, and it just so happens that it surfaced in the reading? Is it that it's residual energy from an ex, especially someone that you could have been married to or lived with for a long time? It could have been, it could be so. You have to find out what. You don't just, oh yeah, you need to cleanse. No, you got to find out why. What does it require? What would it take? What are the results? What to expect from it? And the whole 9 yards. It's kind of like a menu. What do you want for breakfast? Breakfast. What kind of breakfast? So we just gotta find out why. So if you're interested, just text me during my regular hours, and I'll look into it and get back to you, and then that's it. And if you want to, you do it, and if you don't, you don't. But I do have to kind of, just because it was mentioned, yeah, we got to find out if in fact, that would be the solution. But you still have the other stuff to think about too. Lots of stuff. I think the more you think about the read and kind of have a chance to think about it a little bit more, I think you'll have more ideas, and a lot will make sense. Sometimes when a person's getting a reading, they're worried and stressed, and I think it's a couple of days later you reflect and you're like, okay, now I know what I'm going to do with this. So maybe that's what, All right, sweetheart, thank you so much. Oh, I got a text from a lady that I believe mentioned you. I won't give her name, but it was a couple of weeks back, and she was trying to ask me something about types of readings or something. Was that you? I mean, in other words, was she quoting you? Because she said Pisces moon. Okay, it was your friend. Oh, okay. I didn't understand too much what she was trying to figure out, but I think I sent her the website link. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. Well, thank you. That was sweet. All right, sweetheart. Thank you so much and take it easy. Bye.